chapter 28, it was straight action once they hit the ground in Hogsmeade. And once they hit the ground, there was a loud shrieking sound like an alarm. And Death Eaters are running around everywhere, saying, this is like, Potter's here, Potter's here. And Harry knew, obviously, they couldn't see them. Like, they couldn't see Harry. But they're like, okay, he's here somewhere. So just fan out and look for him. And then they were trying to figure out what to do. They ran past Harry, Hermione, and Ron under their cloak, and were just looking around. And then they were like talking about what to do. It's like, maybe we should just bring Dementors out, so that will force him, so they can get him, because they can't kill him obviously, but they can like incapacitate him. And so they brought the Dementors out, and once Harry started to feel that cold prickling, he was like, oh, we're kind of fucked. But as they were kind of moving along through Hogsmeade, Harry was really trying not to use any spells, but he knew if he did cast a Patronus, they would know for sure he was here, because they know his Patronus is a stag. So he does eventually end up casting one, because they're getting really close. And then they were like, oh, there's a stag. And then they kind of ran towards them. And they were closing in on Harry and the group. And then someone behind him said, over here. Harry didn't even look at who it was. He just kind of instinctively just pulled everyone along. And they went inside of Hogshead. And inside here, they went all the way downstairs and into a secluded area, and then they heard the barman. He was up there talking to the Death Eaters, and they were like, we saw a stag, and he was assuring them they didn't see a stag. He cast his own Patronus, which was a goat, and kind of just trying to make them feel dumb for thinking they saw a stag. And it was like, no, you saw my goat, because you have all these Dementors out here, and you're messing up my shop and all that stuff. So he was able to get them off the trail. And then he went downstairs. And at that moment, he said, coast clear and everything. They took off their cloaks and thanked the barman for helping them. And then they realized, Harry realized right away, once he looked at his face, like really looked at him, he was like, you're Dumbledore's brother. And I was like me personally, I was like, whoa. But yeah, he's just Dumbledore's brother. And he was just saying, obviously, he was saying, like, why'd you come here? It's very dangerous, all these things. And Harry was like, we had to come here. We have to do this task. And then Dumbledore's brother went on, Aberforth, if I say his name right. He went on to, talk bad about Dumbledore and say, he probably pulled you on one of his crazy missions again for the greater good and all that stuff. And Harry really didn't want to hear this, because he's already, on the mends about his feelings about Dumbledore and all that stuff. And then Hermione and Ron were adding in that, Dumbledore did love Harry and he wanted to do this mission. And then Dumbledore's brother was like, no, he didn't really love you. He was just trying to get his mission done. And he went on to explain, he said, we've lost. The Order is lost. I used to be part of the Order, and we've lost. We just need to lay low. He just tells them that you guys should lay low and try to get out of here in the morning when everything dies down, because Harry told them that they want to get into Hogwarts to get something. They can't tell them, obviously, what they're going to get, but they basically go back and forth a little bit, and then he kind of explains the past, because there was a mirror in the room, and it was in that mirror, once Harry saw that mirror, he realized whose eye he had been seeing this whole time, and it happened to be Dumbledore's brother. And then he put two and two together, and he was like, so you're the person who sent Dobby and who's been helping me as we've been going through. And then Ron tried to say, oh, you probably cast Patronus. He's like, no, you've seen my Patronus. So they still don't know who cast that Patronus when they're in the forest. Hopefully they figure that out at some point. But he did send Dobby to help them. And he's like, I have love for Dobby and all that. And then Harry had to say Dobby has passed away. And he was like, oh no. And And there was also a portrait in the room as well. And this portrait, they look at it and he's like, "That's your little sister." And he's like, "Yes." And then he explains the true story of his little sister. And he said that he was the one at home, like he was going to Hogwarts. Dumbledore was doing his own thing and staying cooped up in his room. And in that time, his sister was there, and she had some magic that she was doing, but she got caught doing it by some muggles. And those muggles, obviously being scared of what they saw, kind of tried to confront her. And he said they did something to her. He didn't say it was specifically, but it's something pretty bad that spooked her to the point where she did not want to do magic anymore. And yeah, she didn't want to do magic anymore, and she was trying to repress her magic inside, and this was causing her magic to spill out at random times. So she was very volatile and uncontrolled. She had very uncontrolled magic, and this was when she was 6. That's when she first got caught doing magic. And so they just tried to keep her in the house, and then she ended up having an accident and killing their mother. And then this is what brought Dumbledore back home from his journeys with Mr. Dodge. And obviously, Dumbledore's brother came home as well. And then Dumbledore was the one tasked with taking care of her. But his brother offered to take care of her, and Dumbledore said, "No, you need to go back to Hogwarts and continue your studies and all that." And then Grindelwald came in the picture. And then at that point, when Grindelwald came in, then Dumbledore started taking care of his sister less, and she started getting worse. And at this point, like, Dumbledore's brother did not like Grindelwald at all, and they were just getting close to each other. And Dumbledore's brother came home one day, and they had an argument. Grindelwald didn't like what Dumbledore's brother was saying. Wands came out, and they all started fighting with each other, and it made it sound like that Dumbledore's little sister caught a stray spell, and she died that day. And very, very sad story, but that's the truth of how she died. And that when Dumbledore's brother, he kept talking about like that Dumbledore didn't really hurt Dumbledore as much when she died. And then Harry came in and was like, no, he was actually tormented by that day and always has been tormented by that day. And Harry really looked at, like, he was really taken back by how much Dumbledore's brother resembled Dumbledore, especially his blue eyes. And he talked about the moments when Dumbledore was dying, or when he drank that potion that was in the cave, and Dumbledore was reliving his last moments. He was reliving that moment with the sister and when she died. And even Hermione and Ron had not heard these details, so this was new to them as well. And then Harry was like, okay, if you're going to help us get into Hogwarts, let us know now. If you're not going to help us, we're going to leave in the morning. And he's like, at that moment, he turns to the portrait of his sister and says, you know what to do. And so the sister in the portrait walked back. Instead of, like usual, they walk sideways in the portraits, she walked backwards. And it looked like she opened a door, and then there was a white light. And in came none other than Neville Longbottom out of the portrait. He was like, Harry, I knew it. And that's the end of the chapter. Great chapter.